Pitbull is going to have the naming rights at Florida International's football stadium. Like the rapper, singer, Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. It's going to be Pitbull Stadium. And I think it's a great idea. I really honestly, truly do. Because in a growing world of college football where it is the haves versus the have-nots, one, you need every dollar you can get. And if you can get, I think it's $1.2 million a year for Pitbull to put his name on the stadium. It's $1.2 million you didn't have before. It also is an association with a worldwide superstar that you didn't have before. Now, it's a really interesting contract that Pitbull gets to use the stadium for 10 days a year with no rent. Which means that if Pitbull wanted to do a 10-day just bonanza in the greater Miami area, he now has a stadium that he didn't have to pay for that he can do that in. Gets 2 suites to every football game that Florida International has. He gets to have Pitbull-affiliated artists, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say in a college football podcast, perform halftime shows at FIU, should he want. In exchange, Pitbull will create a Florida International anthem that they can use at FIU sporting events. And I think the immediate reaction for a lot of people is like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. Ridiculous doesn't have to mean bad. Ridiculous can mean different, innovative, unprecedented. All of those words can coincide with ridiculous. It's sort of the same thing that, remember in the early 2000s when Oregon started wearing different uniforms all the time? They just didn't have a home set and a road set. That damn near every week they had a new uniform. And old people were like, this is ridiculous. This is a mockery of the game. Whatever argument you could make for why it was a bad idea, they did. And now, a group of 5 schools have 120 uniform combinations. That doesn't make Oregon right or wrong. It makes them ahead of the curve. It makes them visionaries. It makes them trendsetters. And if FIU can get in front of the trend or start a trend of associating your brand with someone who has a drastically larger brand than Florida International Athletics does, it's undeniable that Pitbull has a bigger brand than the FIU Panthers. But that's going to be a cool collaboration to potential prospective students. It just is. Believe me, if you are in the 25 to 54 bracket, do you think Pitbull is cool? Probably not. But there's a much larger chance that people in the 14 to 20 bracket do. And for your school to be associated with that is cool. Is a great use of your time, your efforts. And if somebody to the level of Pitbull, now, believe it or not, as a fat white kid who grew up in Western Ohio and my grandparents had a farm, Pitbull, not music for me. But there is a large swath of the population that thinks that he's cool, that he's awesome. Now, I don't know that I'd go as far to say that, like, it's the same thing as North Carolina having the Michael Jordan Jumpman on their uniforms or Michigan having the Jumpman on their uniforms. But it's pretty close. Like, if Pitbull is going to be the official entertainer and entrepreneur of FIU athletics, and he's going to create a song that is specific for Florida International to a certain portion of the population, is a song written and produced by a world-renowned rapper / musical artist, cooler than something that a band student wrote in 1896. Yes. And Florida International doesn't have the same traditions and pageantries. They are not that old money school, right? Like I think Florida International was created in like 1965 or whatever the case may be. Florida International was established in 1965. That's kind of crazy that I just pulled that out of my woohoo, but it's true. It doesn't have, this is what our uniforms looked like in 1959. This is what our fight song sounded like in 1896. They don't have that. They were founded in 1965. So you have the opportunity to do something really cool, really innovative, something that's a trendsetter and sets you apart from the rest of the pack. Now, I'm not here to say that because they've got money and an association with Pitbull, that Florida International is going to turn into some dynamic college football power. I don't believe that is on the horizon. But when everybody is competing for eyeballs, competing for dollars, competing for recruits, competing for boosters, NIL money, advertising dollars, eyeballs for TV, whatever the case may be, the competition is strong and it is stiff, and you are not playing an equal game with schools in your same state or even in your same metro with the University of Miami. So getting the publicity of, we're working with Pitbull. Our stadium is named after Pitbull. You want to see a Pitbull concert? You can come do that. We got discounted tickets for students. We've got all sorts of stuff that ties us to this worldwide superstar. And I know the immediate reaction is like, this is dumb. This is stupid. Why are you doing this? But if you look at it from their perspective, we got to do everything we can for people to think about and know about Florida International. And if we can get them to think FIU is cool, it's the same reason why Subway sandwiches uses Patrick Mahomes in their commercials, or why they have Charles Barkley in their commercial. It's the same reason Peyton Manning is in a Nationwide commercial. You like Peyton Manning, therefore you're going to like Nationwide. You like Charles Barkley, you like Steph Curry, you like Patrick Mahomes, therefore you're going to like Subway sandwiches. It's just the inverse of that. You like Pitbull, you might like Florida International. I think it's a cool idea. You get more dollars. You get this really famous person who is viewed favorably by a large swath of people who might potentially be your students. And in turn, you get to use that for your football program. Can Florida International afford to put a DJ booth or a barber shop in their indoor practice facility? No, they can't. They're not, and they're probably never going to be able to do that. But you do with what you got, and what you got is, y'all want to meet Pitbull? And if you can use that to your advantage, you do whatever it takes. So I'll tip my cap to Florida International for announcing that today, saying, hey, we've got this cool collaboration that we're going to do. And I think it's probably an early one. I assume, and I would bet you good money, that at Group of 5 athletic departments right now, there are emails flying back and forth of like, shit, why didn't we do this? And then secondly, who could we get to do something similar? Maybe not name the stadium after, but could we give our stadium for 5 days a year to insert country music star or insert actor or whoever you want to align yourself with? I bet you those conversations happen over the course of the next week. And that's because FIU started it. I think they deserve a pat on the back for trying something different, because it would be easy to just sit there and say like, yeah, in state of Florida, we're like D tier football program. We can just accept that's who we are, what we are, and that's that. Or you can say, let's put our nose to the grindstone, figure out how we can get better, how we can grow our profile, how we can get better prospective students, how we can, and maybe they have 55,000 kids, so they might not need more students, but how do we provide a better experience for our students, our student athletes? Let's call Pitbull. I think it deserves some recognition. It's good work, FIU. I think it's a cool move that might be replicated by others down the line. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. Here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps us get in front of more college football fans, and that's always a good thing. See you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.